Good afternoon, and welcome to the Bitter Knitters podcast, TV Attack edition. It is Sunday, May 6, 2018. My name is Jacqueline. Justin is here.
Hello, how's it going?
Wonderful. You know what I noticed? It's
That
too
a
late to
train is
fix.
coming through your house?
That's actually the knife sharpening man.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a guy who drives around. He sharpens your knives, scissors, and stuff like that.
Sounded like
No. When I put our description in, I spelled my name Jacqualing with a G at the end. It was too late to fix it. I was in a rush.
I thought you were going to tell me that you now know the difference between Donald Glover and Childish Gambino are shirts.
I haven't seen the whole episode. I only watched the first. I watched the opening, the cold opening. I watched his monologue, and I watched the second skit with the Jurassic Park lawsuit. That was it so far.
Oh, I thought that was kind of funny. It was dumb, but funny.
But it was like that old school feeling that Saturday Night Live has, where you get that, those kind of just ridiculous, dumb things, but they work somehow. Like, I don't know if you remember from the 80s, the one they were doing the marketing. They were an advertising company, and the guy was sweating, and then they tasted his sweat. And I mean, it was like
gross.
Spraying off him in sweat. They tasted his sweat, and they're like, "There's our new drink." It's just like so ridiculous.
And then there's a sketch with our new favorite SNL girl in bed with Donald Glover. She's got some good moments.
Oh, okay.
Her voice is so weird. So anyway,
Nueva, that one.
Yeah, her. And Leslie Jones sings. It was an okay episode. There's been worse. So we're at that time of year. We talked about pilots last week. Hasn't been a year already. That would be crazy. But we are only about a week to a week and a half away from finding out all the fall schedules for all the broadcast networks here in America. And so in the next week, we're going to get a lot of renewals, a lot of pickups, and a lot of probably some cancellations too.
Yeah.
And so there are some renewals between cable networks and broadcast networks this week. I just want to go over those very quickly. American Idol on ABC has been renewed for a second season, which is a little shocking, a little not at the same time.
Is it over yet? Or is it still on?
It's still on. Last week, they got to the top 7. The live shows only started last week, and so it's abbreviated compared to what they did on Fox, which probably isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like all these abbreviated runs that like The Voice does once it gets to live and American Idol now, I feel like you don't really get to know the contestants and the singers quite as well, because I feel like on a normal season of American Idol we would know by the end these people really well.
But do you think maybe that's gonna be better because instead of just choosing somebody that you maybe like their sob story, maybe now you're just going to choose it based on the talent?
Yeah, I mean, they still have time to do the sob story, but
I can hate the sob story.
I do too. Ryan Seacrest is scheduled to come back, and all 3 judges, Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, and Luke Bryan, are also all scheduled to come back. From what I've seen, they're okay. They're not bad. I've seen a few episodes here and there of the season, and it's not as unwatchable as the last couple Fox seasons. I couldn't watch it at all the last couple years it was on Fox. So, I mean, it's not great, but it's not completely
The judge dynamic is good, or? I mean, you'll never recreate Randy, Paul, and Simon.
No, you'll never be able to recreate that. It's not as a train wrecky as Mariah and Nicki Minaj on the same panel. That was a mess.
I wasn't watching by then, but yeah, I can imagine.
It was not fun to watch. They seem okay. I think that they'll get better as it goes on. I actually do think that the last couple seasons where you had Harry Connick Jr., Jennifer Lopez, and Keith Urban, they actually had a pretty good rapport with each other.
Okay.
I think it'll come as it goes. But yeah, the top 7 performed tonight, and I think the finale is by the end of the month sometime. So there's only 2 or 3 weeks left of the show. Now, I wonder if part of it is because it premiered later because they wanted to stay out of the way of the Olympics. So it'll be interesting to see if they do the same schedule next year or if they expand it a little bit. Because it didn't start till like March. It started pretty late.
Yeah. Well, and they had a lot of time locking in judges and stuff too.
Yes, it came down. Well, the problem is they overpaid for Seacrest and overpaid for Katy Perry. And so at the end, they were struggling to find other judges that would work with what they were willing to pay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know who they should have gotten? It's awful to say because I hate this type of person, but they always have huge fan bases. A YouTuber
or a past Idol contestant, I think would have worked too.
Yeah.
but you got Kelly and
They
Jennifer
lost
Hudson
out on
doing the
Kelly. They
voice.
were
They totally did.
yeah.
Not that they'd be like huge rating numbers, but I feel like that they would be good judges and they would be cheaper compared
Yeah.
to
And I
an
think people would
established
see
star.
them a past idol, most past idol as a legitimate judge too, because they
Hmm.
do know what it's like to go through it. And somebody like Kelly has had a lot of success.
Oh yeah, yeah. Even like Jennifer Hudson, she's had
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
too. But at least they didn't go for like an Adam Lambert.
Now, this is totally off topic. Jordan Sparks had a baby yesterday.
I saw that. I had no idea she was pregnant.
I didn't even know she was married.
Oh. I wish
Congratulations.
I wish her and her baby Wookie the best. Sorry.
I was thinking.
Yeah, I apologize. A couple other renewals. Fox this week renewed Empire for season 5. I know you watched
Yay! Cookie and Lucius. Yes.
more Cookie, more Lucius. And yeah, so how's the season been?
It's been good. It's always dramatic. Like this is what I love about it. It's like an overly dramatic show. So we had Demi Moore being obsessed with Lucius and kidnapping him, and then Cookie had a heart attack. Yeah, all kinds of good stuff is happening.
Wow, I can't believe it's already gonna be season 5 again.
Forrest Whitaker's on as the bad guy right now.
Oh, I feel
Yeah,
like
he's like trying to
anything.
steal the company away from them.
Oh,
Yeah,
he'll do anything for a paycheck.
yeah.
Even though he's in like one of the biggest movies of the year this year, because he does appear in Black Panther.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know if it's because it's Lee Daniels or whatever, but I could easily see somebody like him coming, like a lot of high end people, especially
Yeah,
like Black people coming on this show because even though it's overly dramatic and ridiculous, it's a good show.
and they've
It's good
had a
acting, good acting.
and they've had a good collection of like guest stars and
Yeah,
recurring
yeah,
famous people come on. So that's good. So yeah, that's getting a season 5.
yes,
Have you watched season 2 of Handmaid's Tale at all?
yes. I have
How did you watch all of it? Oh no, there's only been 3 episodes.
3. Yeah,
How's it been so far?
a little boring. I mean, the last episode was better because she was kind of trying to escape, and
Yeah,
so it was a little more exciting and actiony, but kind of boring. But it started out boring too, so
yeah.
we'll see.
So we're 3 episodes into season 2. Hulu's already given it a season 3,
Yeah, I heard that.
which I think is kind of interesting because season 1 obviously was based on the book,
It
and so
followed the
now,
book like almost, other than expanding out scenes and stuff, it was pretty dead on.
So now the producers and creators and all that stuff have to find ways to continue the storyline of what was set up in season 1 without having the book as kind of a guideline.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of interesting. And another series that's going to go through that also in the next couple weeks is 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah.
Because that's the same exact boat where it's based on a book. It follows the book very closely in terms of plot wise. They expand obviously a lot and add a lot more characters, but plot wise, it's very similar. And now they're going to have to figure out a way to continue that series without you having the book as their guideline.
I'm really interested to see what they do with it because, I mean, other than the Alex storyline where he was shot, tried to kill himself, I guess is what we're supposed to believe, and he's in the hospital. The rest was kind of wrapped up. I don't know what else we could do.
Well, you had Justin kind of leaving town. I think there might be more story to that.
Yeah.
Bryce looking
the teacher, I guess. Yeah, the rapey Bryce. Who like completely, treated her like crap when she was begging him for help.
Yeah. It does look like it's going to deal a lot with the court case with the school being sued. So I think we're going to deal with that. We had with the audio cassettes in season 1. Seems like somebody's leaving Polaroids with some of the characters. So I feel like that's going to play
that little trailer they put out. That seems like what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think the court case is going to play a lot into it.
Cassette tapes were just the start. Next, we're going to use 8-track tapes, Polaroids, and cassette tapes because kids of today are definitely using Polaroids.
I can't wait till season 6 when they use smoke signals.
The telegraph. Cave
beep, 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 beep. And what's crazy is usually I feel like we know like quite a few months in advance when shows are going to premiere. We just found out this past week that season 2 of 13 Reasons Why will premiere May 18th, which is not this coming Friday, but the Friday after. So a little less than 2 weeks from now.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm definitely probably binge that over a weekend. I just have to say quickly, hi, Raina. She's listening.
Hi, Raina. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Just like it's fascinating that these series that I feel like should be one and done because of they've got the book story that they're contained to, and then they go on beyond. So it'll be
interesting. Have that with Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies also when that premieres.
Yeah.
Exactly. I forgot about that one. But that'll be another case. And I think in most of the cases, I know with Handmaid's Tale, Margaret Atwood, I think, was kind of
she's working closely
oversaw.
with them.
She worked with them. I don't think Jay Asher, the author of 13 Reasons Why, is involved, but I could be wrong on that. And then I think Leanne Moriarty from Big Little Lies, I think she was involved in coming up with a story for Big Little Lies. But
it'll be interesting to see what'd you say his name was? Ashmore?
Jay Asher.
Asher. It'll be interesting to see what that reaction is after the new season.
I say he might be, but for some reason I thought I read that he wasn't. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on with that. Another no-brainer renewal after 2 episodes have aired. Westworld is now renewed for season 3.
Yeah, even though it hasn't been super exciting, it's been good still.
Which episode did you prefer, 1 or 2?
2, I think.
Really? I think I preferred 1. I think 1 had more action and was more interesting. For whatever reason, I don't really care about how the investors got involved in this in the early days of it. There was a really cool scene at the beginning of season 2 with Logan and little investor presentation he had to attend.
I liked that, yeah.
But for the rest of it, it just, I don't know. I
kind of like the Logan character, and I think that's why that I'm glad he's back in these flashbacks, because he's so detestable, but there's still something charming about him. I like him.
I kind of felt bad for him when we see him at the retirement party, and he's kind of like strung out on drugs. And
William's got all the glory, and Logan's, the loser son now.
I hope there's more. I'm wondering if there's more to Logan's story.
I bet there will be.
You know what? Maybe he's the one that's behind the company trying to get Abernathy.
Oh, that'd be good. What if we've seen Logan too in the park, and he's old now, but we don't recognize him? We wouldn't know
because they played with that season 1 with William and the Man in Black.
Yeah, that would be exciting.
Yeah, you know what? I just came up with that. I'm
calling it. That's your theory.
I like that. I like that. Did you see the preview for tonight's episode?
I did not.
At the very last scene, we see a tiger that's alive. Well, alive, obviously, it's a robot, but we're definitely seeing a tiger tonight.
So the worlds are blending for sure.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering if that's the tiger that we saw at the end of the first episode, because the end of the first episode took place presumably after everything else.
The latest timeline.
Yeah, the latest timeline. So I'm wondering if this is going to be something that like Maeve will come across, or Tessa Thompson. Yeah, because
it wasn't completely rotted away when we saw it. It was,
It looks like could have been dead for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I watched a recap video, as I do, and they're like things you missed in Westworld, and the kind of Asian-y looking, ambiguous looking guy that's with at the presentation.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They showed him in all these scenes that we've seen him in, and I 100% did not recognize him.
Really?
He was like one of the natives with like the paint on his face, and he's in a cowboy suit in one spot.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. I'm like, what?
I swear, this show goes over my head 95%.
I know. I feel like really dumb watching this show.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting.
These recaps come out in like an hour after the show happens, and I'm like, what? I still don't even know what happened, and I just watched it. How do you have all these intense details?
I like watching some of these recaps sometimes because it does help me process and digest what I saw and kind of help me understand what I saw, because it's not the most straightforward storytelling, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's good. So we'll definitely get more Westworld. I don't think it's one of these shows that could possibly run for 6, 7, 8, 9 years. But
I think
4 or 5.
4s max. Yeah. You think 5? We could go 5 maybe.
4 or 5 maybe. But yeah, beyond that, I don't see it lasting much longer than that. We talked about her being in talks a few weeks ago, but it looks like Helena Bonham Carter is officially joining the crown as Princess Margaret. I mean, we kind of knew that, but it's
Yeah,
kind of nice
I'm not
that
surprised.
we got confirmation that she's going to be on it for sure. I love her because she just always comes across as completely insane, and I
She
love it.
is, and I think she'll be a good Princess Margaret. Did you see, by the way, that they're paying Claire Foy back retro pay for
No,
the
I did
money
not
she?
see that.
Yeah, she's getting retro pay for the money that she did not get paid to equal Matt Smith's
Oh, they did not have to do
salary.
that, and I
They
feel
didn't.
like yeah, at least she did that. Good for her. I mean, I understand at the time. I think we talked about this when the story was out. He obviously was a bigger name, but and that's what happens when you're dealing. But yeah, that's I'm glad that she's getting that. Um, and then I know you do not watch Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is returning May 30th on Netflix, just the first half of the fourth season. It was announced this week that season 4 is going to be the final set of episodes, but they might make a movie that Tina Fey will co-write to go on to the to
Netflix.
kind of tie, yeah, on Netflix to kind of tie up the rest of the story.
Oh, okay. Well, that'd be nice for the
It's a fun
fans.
show. It's a fun show, but it's also
I
one of
watched the
those.
first season and I enjoyed it. I just didn't love it. Love it.
Yeah, and I can understand how some of the characters can be kind of grating on some people, but I think it's just so kind of goofy and just so silly and kind of stupid. But it's a lot of fun, and it'll
Yeah.
be. But it's also one of those that I feel like can't go on forever. Also,
Yeah. At some point, she's gonna learn how the world operates.
yeah. So I feel like the fourth season is kind of an appropriate time to end it. So that should be good. Fox is looking at bringing back Last Man Standing.
Did that not just like end last season?
That ended last year, but there was so much not controversy, but people were upset. People were claiming that it was ABC being left wing, getting rid of a show starring a Republican and a conservative, and Tim Allen went out and was all angry at ABC, and so people
That
were
show was on
angry.
more than it should have been, and I only know one person who watched that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Same person,
The
but
same
me too.
person.
And I guess the ratings were okay for being on a Friday night, but they weren't
Yeah.
fantastic. They weren't great. But Fox saw the Roseanne numbers and they're like, we want a conservative show on our own, so we're going to bring that back. Now, it's not finalized for sure, but it looks like Tim Allen agreed to do it if they do pick it up. The good news is last week we were talking about that pilot called Cool Kids with all the old people in the retirement home. It sounds like that pilot had kind of stalled, but now there's new life in it because they think it could pair well with Last Man Standing.
Old people will watch Last Man Standing and then watch Cool Kids is what.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that that happens because I want to see Cool Kids. I don't want to see more Last Man Standing. I never watched it as it is.
Tim Allen, I'd never even really watched much Home Improvement. I find him so overrated and not funny. Like, I don't find men grunting in response to a question funny or interesting.
I loved it as a kid. I thought it was hilarious. I've gone back recently and watched just a few minutes of episodes here and there. Not funny.
No.
I was stupid as a kid.
And I knew so many, honestly, in that time during the 90s when that was on, I knew so many men who would really kind of emulate that and be like, and I was just like, oh my God, you're so not funny.
Let the man do it.
Yeah.
But he was so incompetent and he messed up everything that he tried to do.
Yeah.
Two more quick stories. We talked about how the Paramount Network was going to premiere a TV version of Heathers, but, kind of twisting up the movie a little bit. And it got delayed, the premiere did, because of the Parkland shooting in Florida. And so it kind of got pulled from the schedule. Nobody knew when it was going to come back on. It looks like it will now premiere on the Paramount Network July 10th.
Yes. And as our friend Casey said, because there's no school in the summer. Nobody
I said that.
Oh, you said it. Okay.
I said that. Normally he's the one that says the offensive things. I said that.
That's right. It was you who said it. There couldn't be a school shooting. And then he said summer school. That's
yeah, that's true. He said summer school.
Jeez.
We are horrible people. So, I saw bits of the original movie when I was a kid. I probably was a little too young for. I mainly saw the ending. That for some reason the ending stuck with me, but I had never gone back to watch it, and I don't know anything about the story and what this new TV show will be about, but it looks like it could be interesting.
I watched the pilot. It was online, so I did watch the pilot. Definitely had that same dark feel. The Heathers are kind of course, not what you expect. They're twisted the storyline around. Very brutal Heathers. I kind of like them. I'm not sure how I feel about the guy in the Christian Slater role. Because there was a charm about him. Yeah. I don't know if this guy has it. So I'll give him another chance. I'll definitely watch the show, give it another chance, because it did kind of end on a cliffhanger that I'm interested in to see what happens next.
You've had to wait a long time for that.
I know.
For that resolution. Yikes.
I know.
One other thing I want to talk about is Arrested Development. This was a show I loved to watch when it was on Fox. It was on Fox for 3 seasons, and then it was off the air for the longest time. Netflix brought it back, gave it a 4th season about, 4 or 5 years ago now, which is crazy. And then this summer, they're getting a season 5. 2 bits of news with that is Jeffrey Tambor will appear in season 5 this summer after he was fired off of Transparent.
The controversy.
With the controversy about that. And the other interesting thing is when season 4 premiered, a lot of fans hated it, did not like it at all. I liked it a lot. I thought it was kind of an interesting way to tell the story. So what they ended up doing was, because you had this show that was on over 10 years ago now, and most of the actors had gone on and have done a lot of other work, movies, TV shows, a lot of stuff. Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, a lot of them have gone on to do different things. So they had a hard time scheduling the filming for all of them to be involved. So what they did instead was each episode involved a different character, and most of the time they didn't interact a lot with a lot of the other characters.
Oh, okay. Like a point of view of that person living
their life. Point of view, almost like a Rashomon style too, because overall it told a story at like a point of time, but every episode would jump around where in that point of time it took place. So they may have teased something, or there may have been something that looked really odd that they didn't even mention in episode 2. And then that joke would pay off in like episode 10 when you finally understand why that was the way it was in episode 2.
Okay.
So it required you to pay attention.
So like a chimpanzee skating through on roller skates or something like that.
Yeah, and then like
what's happening?
And then we would figure out what was up with that later on in the series.
Okay.
So it required a lot of patience. It wasn't like you didn't get the joke like right away. And I thought that was brilliant. I liked it a lot, but a lot of people didn't. So apparently the creator, what he had done, I guess almost a year or 2 ago now, is he went back and looked at and they were all long, like between 35 and 40 minutes long. When normally when it was on Fox, it was 21, 22 minutes. So there were 15 episodes. He went back and he recut and re-edited all 15 episodes to go in chronological order. So now there's, I think, 22 normal length episodes that will now be in the normal style of point A to point B with chronological timeline. So with, I think, a little bit of new narration by Ron Howard, which to me, I'm curious about, but at the same time, I feel like that's going to take away a lot of what I thought was funny about season 4. So
but it'll make the other people happy.
Yeah. It was announced that, I think there's a news story about this. I think it was this Monday or Tuesday. They're like, oh, it'll be on Netflix on Friday. So it went on Netflix on Friday as the season 4. I don't know if they're officially calling it the remix, but that's what I've seen, the season 4 remix. So it'll be interesting to see how that compares with the original version of season 4. But it's not very often you see somebody come in and completely re-edit season of TV.
The whole season. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. So yeah, that's our news. We got a few shows to talk about this week. I know we like to talk about some of our big shows, like our Game of Thrones and our Westworlds and Nashville's. That's the biggest show on TV. Yeah. I also like weird, obscure shows that nobody's ever heard of. So today I want to talk about Taskmaster.
Oh my God. Love it. I just was so excited. I saw that a new episode, at least one episode is online. And I'm like, oh my God, I kind of want to cancel the show to watch Taskmaster.
I was looking at, that's what I was going to go grocery shopping.
Oh, Sister Patty reminds us of Zoo.
Zoo? How can we forget about Zoo? That was like Pulitzer Prize, Oscar winning Zoo. the best show on the face of the earth. So, um, so I was gonna go grocery shopping after we did this today, but I saw that there not one, but there should be 2 episodes that aired this week of Taskmaster. Yes. So I will watch Taskmaster when we are done. So it's based on a UK format, and I think that they have done. Let me double check on this. I want to make sure my. They're currently in the middle of airing Series 6, which doesn't include a Champion of Champions series that they did. So technically it's Series 7.
Okay.
And every year what they do is every series, they get 5 celebrities together. And there's the Taskmaster, and there's kind of the umpire guy. And the Taskmaster, they show up at a location, a house, something that's being filmed previously, one at a time, and they're given an envelope. They read the envelope, and they have to do a task. The task has been something like, get this basketball into the hoop. You cannot use your hands or anything that would be like gloves or anything like that. Yeah. There was one that had a tube with holes in it, and they're like, you have to get this object out of this tube.
A ping pong ball, basically, at the bottom of the tube.
The ping pong ball at the bottom of the tube.
Water or something. Or they give you liquid.
They give you liquids.
They don't realize there's holes, so they start to pour. Oh, this will be easy. They pour it in, and all the liquid starts flying out, and they're like, oh, everybody says, oh, shit. Yeah.
So they have to find ways, obviously, to...
And the prize at the end is each celebrity, each episode is giving up something totally precious to them. So the first episode was a DJ who gave up his computer, his laptop that he, has his songs on, he works with. And then, of course, episode 2 has our beloved Freddie Highmore, Dr. Sean Murphy himself, giving up his childhood toy. And literally, they have a picture of him as a baby with this toy, his raccoon.
It's like a little raccoon puppet, and it was so adorable. He's like, it's raccoon. So I want raccoon. So we have 5 celebrities, and I actually knew who 3 of them were, which actually surprised me.
I knew 3 of them too, actually.
Probably the same 3. So our first one, you alluded to a international DJ, some guy named Dylan Francis.
He seems nice, though. I like him.
I like him. He's funny. He's funny. There's also a woman named Kate Berlant.
I feel like I've seen her, but I'm not 100%. She's nice too. You know what? They have a good cast.
I feel like she's the most boring of the 5, though.
Yeah, but she's okay.
But she's not bad. I don't hate her. You have Ron Funches.
Yeah, I like him. He's from that show Undateables, right?
Undateable, yeah. He's just so strange.
He reminds me, Sister Patty, I know is listening. He reminds me of Dia. He's like this sweet kind of he's like, oh, I can't let the balloon touch the ground, right? And he's like, I'm just gonna sit here with this balloon, and he's just kind of filled with childlike wonder in some ways. I love him.
Then we have Lisa Lampanelli, who's a loudmouth comic.
Oh my God, she's funny too, though.
You either love her or hate her, but I think she's kind of funny. And then, of course, we have Freddie Highmore, a.k.a. Dr. Sean Murphy, as the 5th person, who obviously he owes somebody a favor, which is why he's on the show.
It's weird to see him on there because, these people aren't nobodies, right? They're not nobodies. But, I mean, I would think at this point he's the most at the top of his game, right? He's on, the #1 new drama of the season. He's been on lots of shows, critically acclaimed shows. He's been in many, many movies. His career's not done.
No. Oh, no. He's got many more years of Dr. Sean Murphy ahead of him. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see this group of people. And you'd be like, what's Freddie Highmore doing here? But you know what? He's my favorite. He's by far
he's so good. And I love how some of these people are coming up with. When they had to get the ball out of the tube, I immediately thought, oh, get a vacuum. Would a vacuum work? Right? And then Lisa got the vacuum out. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not the only one who thought of that.
Yeah, my favorite, though, was Freddie Highmore, who went up and first tried to kick it. The first time he kicked it, he was close. And so he got on this kick that he's like, I'm just going to kick it. It'll eventually come in. And he never came close again. So he just jumped into the pool because it was in front of a pool. He brought down the hoop and just kicked it in that way because the hoop was right there. I'm like, that's genius. I don't think
that was smart. They think outside the box, though. They're kind of clever on some of these things. I liked when the same one pouring the thing down the tube where he had to speak without his own accent.
Oh, yes.
He was using the French accent. They had to do make a noise, the longest sustained noise you think of. And I thought it was really clever because I would never have thought about it. Ron and Lisa both thought about dragging their stools around and making that screechy noise.
Interesting. You could tell that the others kind of struggled with that one. I
Yeah.
guess the laughing went on for a long time, but
Yeah.
they had the audience laugh, which was kind of interesting. But
Hmm.
was it Freddie who would just make the noise? Like,
It just hummed.
obviously
He
he
hummed.
just hummed. He's not going to last very long if that's
Yeah.
all you're doing. So that was a tough one, and I thought that was kind of smart of Ron and Lisa to do that. So every episode has 2 pre-filmed segments, and then they have a live segment in the studio.
Yeah.
And whoever has the most points at the end of the episode will get to take the prized possession that is up for grabs.
Yeah, it's a really good show. They told me about it, I was like, "What? This sounds strange." But okay, Freddie Highmore's on it. I'll watch it. I love
Dr.
it.
Sean Murphy. That's
Love
all
it.
you needed to know.
Yeah.
So this version is hosted by Reggie Watts, who is the band leader on the James Corden show.
Yeah, and wasn't he also doesn't he do
Bang Bang?
That's it. I was gonna say I knew there's another show.
Yeah. And then apparently when I was doing my quote unquote research today, which was just using Wikipedia, the umpire guy, the co-host Alex Horn, not only does he have the same role in the British version, but he's the creator of the show.
He's funny. I like him.
And I kind of like
him and Lisa go back and forth. I was
just gonna say I like the him and Lisa stuff is really funny.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at the list of like the British people that have competed, and I don't know most of them. Noel Fielding from the Great British Bake Off, wasn't that him?
Oh, okay, yeah, that emo man,
the emo looking weird man.
Yeah.
I recognize him, and I recognize Richard Osman, who co-hosts one of my favorite British game shows called Pointless. Those are the only 2 names.
I'll have to look for the British version now.
Yeah, so I think they're actually in the middle of the 6th season right now.
Okay.
I think it might be.
My regular show that I stream shows on would probably have it. I wonder if it's on YouTube. I have to look on YouTube.
Oh, it might be. That's a good idea. Yeah. So that Champion series took the winners of each of the previous series, and they competed against each other. And it looks like, according to Wikipedia, that beyond the 6th one, it looks like they've got plans for 3 more series after this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a fun little show. It's on Comedy Central. It looks like they've been doing 2 episodes a week, so my guess is they're just kind of burning it off, which is a shame because it's fun.
Yeah, but I mean, they only just did the first 2 episodes, right? Together?
According to Wikipedia, the last 2 episodes were both aired on the same day also.
Okay.
Which is what makes me think that there should be, there's episode 3 called Bubbles, aired on May 4th, and episode 4 called Die, Die, Die on May 4th also.
I bet you that's Lisa. I wonder, maybe it's just kind of like a taste. Like, let's put it out there, see if there's people want to watch it, and then they could do a longer series or a more drawn out series next time.
Yeah. The thing that
couldn't have cost that much to make.
No, I'm sure. No. And I sometimes get the feeling that each of their segments is shot on the same day because they're always wearing the same clothes.
Lisa's always wearing her Rush shirt.
Yes. And Ron's wearing that weird shirt with him on it or something. I don't know what's going on.
Freddie's wearing the same button down shirt. Yeah, exactly. So they probably just do all their tasks on the same day.
Yeah. Because there's no reason why they'd have to wear the same clothes every day, every time they go.
No.
So it just would take like a day for each of them. Okay, we've got 8 tasks for you to do. And you'll be here for like 6 hours. So, yeah, that's not too bad.
Unless you're really bad and you take, 3 hours to do a task.
Well, usually they only give them like an hour time.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
So, but I will say one thing about the show why I don't think it would necessarily hit it big here in the States is it's very British.
Yeah.
It's a very British feeling show, which I like. And I kind of like that Comedy Central took that risk to air something like that.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you got to start getting some different stuffs on there. We don't want all the same stuff rehashed, There's only so many flipping the house shows we can watch.
Yeah.
I know that's not Comedy Central, but
Broad City's ending, so let's get something else going on. But there's only like how many Tasha's and Drunk Histories you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like it. Yeah, it's called Taskmaster. It's currently, I think, more than halfway through its first. I think there's 6 episodes. So the finale might just be this coming week.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. They'll probably do the 5-6 episode on this week. Okay, well, we'll talk about it on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. We might. if we can get it before the show, we might know the winner. Come on, Freddie Highmore.
Yes, I'm
Come
rooting for him.
on, Freddie Highmore. He did a favor for someone, obviously, so let him win.
Yeah.
He seems like such a nice guy. I like
He
him.
does.
Adorable. His raccoon.
Yeah.
Did you watch The Rain?
I did. You know what? So I've been seeing that for the last couple days, showing up on my Netflix, being recommended to me, the little trailer playing, and I'm like, oh, I gotta watch it. So you're like, well, we're gonna talk about it, so watch it tonight. I'm like, okay. I stayed up till like 4:30 in the morning watching episodes.
How many did you watch?
Like 4 or 5. I don't even know.
Okay. I will say when the first episode ended, I wanted to immediately go in and watch the next one because they're not that long.
That's how every episode feels. I feel like I had to see what was going to happen, and then I'm like, well, I'm already watching it. I may as well just. I finally had to just like turn it off, Jack. Turn it off.
But I had to watch the next show we're going to talk about right away too. So I turned off The Rain. But I thought it was kind of an interesting. It was an interesting show.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't like is, and I guess we'll spoil a little bit. I feel like the descriptions that they kept showing you kind of spoiled what happens in episode 1. Which I'll talk about in a minute. Not huge, but it was something that I was expecting to happen. So this is a show that is produced in Denmark. Everything is in Danish. But I did watch. Did you watch subtitles or did you watch dub?
I watched both.
Oh,
because I like to look at the subtitles, but I will say this: the subtitles in some cases, while not completely different, like the tone and the point was the same. Different words completely in some cases.
Oh,
I'm like, weird.
That is weird. I watched it. I watched it in the Danish language, which was kind of weird because I have to be honest, not a very pretty language.
No, it's not flowing.
No, it's not a very attractive language. So we start off with this girl running through her school. And Simone. That's how they say it in the Danish. So there's Simone. And she's got a bunch of friends. They're about to do like a group exam of some sort. I don't understand what it is.
Exam, I think. She had to write all their parts and get it ready?
Yeah, and that one guy was going to read about water.
He's adorable. He does do water.
And so she's running, and it's done to the tune of like an English song, which caught me off guard. I know that song that they did it to. And then she finally, and they're running late. She's running late. They have to go in and do their presentation or else they'll fail. But she gets there and she starts handing out the parts. And the second that they're about to go, or not the second they're about to go, but when she gets there, her dad like comes rushing in school and pulls her away. And there's like, we need to get out of here right now. We're all like, what's going on? Before it rains. And so we see them then in the car and they're driving. He's driving like a maniac.
He's not just going to get a bad hair day if he gets rained on.
Yeah. And then we hear in the radio in the car, there's something that
people are having allergic reactions is what they're calling it.
Reactions to the rain. Yeah. And there's a car accident that happens because her brother is being what was his name again? Rams?
He's Rasmus.
Rasmus.
Yeah, because they call him Moose.
Rasmus, yeah. Rasmus. And he's kind of being a little punk, not having his seatbelt on. The dad's like, you mess with this.
Distracted driving, yeah.
And then he's looking back and distracted. This whole like semi truck rolls over. Everything gets stopped. And the only thing I didn't like was this was so convenient. All of a sudden they're like, we have to get out and run. And where they run to is like exactly where they had to go.
Well, this is a little bit of a spoiler. They continue on and they go to all these bunkers and they're all within a day's walk. Oh. I didn't know Denmark was quite that small.
That's kind of weird. But what I like is she was like running so well in her school that as soon as like they had to run in the forest, Simone is like,
used it all up.
I can't run. So they get to the bunker, and the second they get to the bunker, the dad's like, okay, I've got to go. See you later.
I know. And he like pieces out.
I'll be back. Can't come find me. I'll eventually be back. See ya. And he went to Simone and was like, you have to watch out for your brother. You have to look out for him.
He's the key to everything.
Yes. And we see a bunch of flashbacks where she hears her parents arguing back at home and talking about a virus of some sort and injecting the brother with something.
Moose is very sick and close to death, and they can't wait any longer. I guess there's an experimental drug or treatment that they decide to use on Moose.
And I feel like there's a lot of hints where it sounds like they're the reason why the virus got loose.
Yeah, because the dad even says, like, I did this
Yeah.
and I have to go and fix it now.
Yeah. So maybe not a lot of hints that they outright tell you.
Yeah.
But of course, as soon as they get to the bunker, we see the first couple raindrops.
Yes. Bing.
And they get in. The dad puts on his suit and he leaves. So it leaves
Yeah,
the mom.
the hazmat suit.
Yeah, the hazmat suit. So it leaves the mom and it leaves Simone and Rasmus. And of course, they want to go out find their dad. And the mom's like, no, we have to stay here. They go out, they open. It's raining hard at this point, and we see that one of the drivers from the car accident is now there going all crazy.
Them, yeah.
And he's grabbing the son, and the mom's like, no, this can't happen. So she pulls him back and she jumps out and sacrifices herself to save her kids, and gets rained on. And then she gets all sick and crazy and all this too. So then they're stuck in the bunker. And then we get a Hakuna Matata time jump, which is what the one thing that was spoiled within the very beginning of the description. Every time I read the description, they're like, it's been 5 or 6 years since this happened, and these two people...
I also saw, I didn't read the thing. I kind of was looking at the video, and I kind of saw him working out, and I'm like, well, that looks like the same ginger kid now working out as a man. I guess it's him.
Yeah, so he's like 10 or 11. We even see at one point he gets an 11-year-old birthday cake. And so now we're like 5, 6 years later. So he's what, 16 or so?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like doing pull-ups, and I don't know where the weights came from, but all of a sudden there's like a full weight set in the bunker.
There's a full workout gym, yeah.
But they've
never gone outside. She was going to creep out one day, and she got too afraid. So she stayed in, and that was it. They stayed in for 6 years.
They've stayed in that whole time, and finally they're running out of food. They know that
Dad is not coming back.
Dad's not coming back. So there was one night when Rasmus is sleeping, she gets out and she puts on the hazmat and she goes out because she finds out she's communicating with a guy named Philip on the radio before like the power all cut out around here, but they're running on generator. That's a good generator. That's running a long time. Yeah. And he finds out through him that not too far from them, there's a hospital. And in that hospital, when this first started happening, they were using that as kind of a rescue center and to people out to evacuate. So she goes to the hospital. She goes back to the car accident. She sees the signs to the hospital. So she walks to the hospital. And of course, everything's completely devastated. There's corpses, there's bodies, there's no living soul. There's a deer and a coyote, but that's about it. A wolf of some sort.
I thought it was just like a wild dog.
Oh, maybe it was a wild dog. I don't know. It was something that definitely wanted to eat her.
Yeah.
And then we see Rasmus waking up, and we think that Simone's gone, but no, she's there, and she's like, we need to go there, but there's nothing out there. So we're leaving
tomorrow.
Yeah, we're gonna go to the next bunker. And then of course the next thing that happens is their airlock is they lost their air or something.
Yeah.
So they're losing their air. So Rasmus grabs his sister, who's almost like passed out, and they get to the bunker. They get out to the door, and all of a sudden there's this group of people that are all in like suits and stuff that are surrounding them, and then fade to black. The end.
Yeah. So I won't spoil it too much. Those people blocked the air ducts.
Okay.
To force the other people out. They had followed them back. Because you kind of see at one point when she's walking, you see a shadow walk by.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so
that's how they knew that they were there.
They followed her. They're wearing suits because, of course, they don't know if they're infected. They don't want to get infected, right?
Oh, that makes sense. But it looks like they can be out without wearing suits, right?
Yeah, it's not an airborne thing. As long as you're not near somebody who's infected, or you can't touch the water, obviously.
Or if it's not raining.
Yeah, or it's not raining. There's some interesting things you'll see coming up in the next episodes. You get each episode kind of not super focuses on, but you get a bit of backstory on each of the people that you start to see.
Okay. So I take it this is like a group of survivors that they somehow.
Yeah, and then not just survivors. They call them the strangers. There's like maybe a military group. They go to some different bunkers. They are in town. They meet some other survivors. Some interesting stuff is happening. It's good.
Yeah, and the first episode was about 46 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like, according to what I looked at on Netflix, the others are in like the 30 range.
Yeah, they're over really quick.
That's not too bad. I feel like some of these shows sometimes are just way too long. But it's
Yeah.
I was interested. I liked it.
Like I said, I couldn't stop watching. And my son had come upstairs and was eating, and I was watching episode 2. And he sat here and watched most of the episode, even though he hadn't seen episode 1. So
Yeah, I kind of like what Netflix is doing. Not only are they getting stuff here in North America, but they are either producing stuff or grabbing stuff that are produced overseas in other countries,
yeah.
which are shows that we normally wouldn't see.
No, if I'd come across that on a streaming site, I probably wouldn't have watched it, to be honest. Right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's on Netflix. I'll give it a try.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah,
good. It's good.
yeah, and it's 8 episodes.
Oh, is it? I'm almost done. Is there a second season coming?
I don't
Is
know
there a
anything
resolution
about
at the
it.
end? I don't feel
There,
like it can be resolved that quickly.
there are 8 episodes,
Oh no.
and I don't know anything about a season 2. But
Okay.
knowing our luck recently, they're gonna break our heart and pull in every ducks on us.
True. But I would imagine this is probably doing well in Denmark.
Yeah, I hope so, and international too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see
Well,
if we get more of the rain.
I
But yeah.
won't. Sister Patty says to stop panicking. No, I won't.
But yeah, so it's interesting because I didn't hear much about the show building up to it until, like you, I saw it on the page at Netflix and they recommended it to me.
Yeah.
So that's always not a good sign because sometimes I feel like these shows you need a little bit of buzz going into it.
But you know what? That happened with that Veronica movie. I saw it on my Netflix and I was like, oh, what's this? And then I saw so many people on Facebook talking about
That's
Veronica.
true. And BuzzFeed.
And the BuzzFeed article. So, I mean, maybe because it was promoted to the front page, right? It's not just sitting in the back, on a list.
That's true. And I mean, we both came across it by being, oh, wow, look, they're recommending this to us. It looks good. Maybe I should watch it.
Yeah. And the trailer they played was interesting enough. I didn't even hear it because I don't have my trailer set to hear the volume. So I didn't even hear anything. I just saw it and I was like, oh, this looks interesting.
I didn't watch any of the trailers. I just went right into it blind. Yeah. So another show that I enjoyed. Did you watch any of Cobra Kai?
I could watch 2 free episodes on YouTube.
Did you watch 1 or 2?
2.
Me too.
And I want more. Now I'm gonna have to try to find them somewhere.
As soon as the first episode was done, I'm like, more, please.
Yeah.
And I watched this after the rain, so I had time to watch another one, and I really liked it. Were you a big Karate Kid fan when that was out in the 80s?
Yeah, I watched Karate Kid 1 and 2. I enjoyed them. I know I watched them more than once, probably 4 or 5 times at least in the 80s. Yeah.
I remember seeing it as a kid vaguely. I mean, I was fairly young when it came out. Again, like Heather's, I never went back and watched it as an adult. Yeah. But so I was kind of vaguely familiar with the story. And I feel like it's always been in kind of the cultural consciousness too. You saw it brought up a lot in How I Met Your Mother. And so it's a well-known story. So this brings back the 2 original stars of Karate Kid. Well, the star of Karate Kid and then, of course, the main antagonist in Karate Kid. And Ralph Macchio and William Zabka.
Zabka.
Yeah.
The ultimate 80s bad boy, William Zabka.
And so it kind of centers more around the Johnny character. And we see that when the show starts, he's kind of on the down, and he's not doing well.
No, he's kind of doing like a general handyman kind of job, and
which he gets
drinking beer first thing in the morning, and driving his old Firebird from the 80s that's all worn out.
Yeah, he's definitely had better days. And I think that's kind of interesting to see where you've got him. He's kind of the hotshot bad boy in high school. And now he's kind of down on his luck.
It all went downhill when he lost the karate match to Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Daniel has a nice house. He's in charge of his own car dealership. He's got a wife and 2 kids.
5 locations across the city or some stupid annoying shit.
His commercials are always on.
Yeah.
And
karate themed too at that.
Exactly. Oh, he's like, and he gives out free bonsai plants to all his customer.
Yes.
That's really annoying. And so you've got these 2 characters. So these episodes are kind of following these 2 characters. And Johnny, in his apartment complex, he meets this new kid that just moved in, and um, I'm trying to think. Oh, what was his name? Was it Manuel?
I don't remember.
Let me find out.
Just this
And
young kind of, sweet kid. He's like, oh, you gotta recycle, and oh, we can be friends. And Johnny's just like, piss off, kid.
piss off! I don't want anything to do with you, kid. And then at one point, Johnny is at this like local convenience store. Getting that piece of pizza was disgusting.
Oh yeah, I mean, that was ridiculous.
He asked for a piece of pizza that was like in the little, who knows how long it's been there, in the rotating thing at like a 7-Eleven. Miguel was his name, at a 7-Eleven type store. And this guy who's behind the counter like grabs the pizza with his hand, no gloves. He's just like letting it, and Johnny starts eating it.
I know.
Of course, Miguel was there getting some Pepto-Bismol for his grandmother. And Johnny's outside. He's eating his pizza, and this group of high schooler kids, bully
toughs,
and they go in, and then we see them coming out, and they're kind of picking on Miguel because he busted them. They're trying to buy alcohol, and he busted them, and so they take their Pepto-Bismol. They nickname him Rhea, as in diarrhea, and pour the Pepto-Bismol over his head. And then it wasn't until they like push him up against Johnny's car that Johnny's like, no, I'm not having any of this.
You're about to be schooled.
He uses his karate skills and beats the shit out of these high schoolers.
Yeah. And like these kids though, like seriously, if I was a teenager and some old guy started kicking ass like that, I would have ran. I would not have fought them.
Yeah, so he ended up in jail. And so the most shocking part of the episode is the next morning he gets out of jail, he goes home, and who's there? Ed Asner's still alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, they need to have Ed Asner's nurse on the show way more.
Or they should replace her with Carla.
They could be best friends.
Oh my God, her and Carla, give them their show. That's awesome. Yeah, they're both on. Apparently,
Carla from 911. If you forgot, one of our favorite stars of TV.
Ever. And so yeah, Carla and this other nurse could like have a whole new show where they're like old people nurses being sassy with each other.
Yes.
I would watch it. Come on, YouTube, get on this.
Yeah. So Ed Asner is Johnny's stepdad, and he promised Johnny's long dead mother that he would take care of him. And so he tries to give him a check. He's like, I'm done with you. I don't want to deal with you anymore. So I'm going to buy you out. Here's a check for a good chunk of money.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then, but he rips up the check and he's like, nope, I don't want your
I have my pride still.
And which is kind of like a big theme of the first episode is everyone's trying to be nice to
charity,
give him thing, and he doesn't want any of it. So
he does still have his pride.
Mm-hmm. So he goes to, what was it, the park? He goes around town. We get a lot of flashbacks to the movie.
He goes to the arena that he lost the fight to Johnny or to Daniel at. See, you're young. You don't understand all these things that are happening.
Yeah, no. All I know is there are a bunch of flashbacks. And he kind of parked his car in a bad place. And these teen girls were in their car, and they hit his car, and he comes up like a raving lunatic, and they go
banging on the windows, and they're teens. They get scared and drive away.
Get scared. They drive off. His car gets towed away. They're like, "Oh, this is the place where it goes to," which is obviously Daniel's automobile dealership place. Yeah. And so he's like, oh, no, I'm not dealing with any of this. So he goes over there, and he wants his car moved, and the receptionist is also awesome.
Call? Why would you go there? Call and be like, take my car from there.
Then there'd be no story.
I know, but...
And she's like, but we're the best. You want to keep it here? It's like, no.
We have the most competitive rates. We'll beat any estimate.
And then he finds out that... Danny's there and is about to greet some customers, so he tries to get out of there. Of course, before it's too late, here comes Danny. He's like, hey, Johnny. So they talk, and he reminisce, and he's willing to, he feels bad for Johnny, so he's willing to fix the car for free. And again, he's like, I don't want your charity. Absolutely no way. And then they have some conversation. He sees the daughter. Did he
he recognized the daughter was in the backseat. She wasn't the driver, but she was in the backseat.
She was in the car. And then he says something like, Daniel-san says something about like, oh, it's a good thing Cobra Kai is no longer a thing. And this gets him motivated. So we go get a montage. He's shaving. He's
like, the world doesn't need Cobra Kai values type of thing.
And so he sets up his own little dojo, and he gets his Miguel, his neighbor, to kind of be his Daniel's
It's
son.
Daniel's son, wax on, wax off, to clean the
And
toilet.
he at one point he even was like doing the thing on the windows, and that just made
Yeah.
it wax
He's
on,
like, should
wax
I
off.
do this any specific way? No, I don't give a shit.
And then that was kind of the end of the first episode. So the
Yeah.
second episode, we see a lot more of Daniel's family.
Yeah, he wakes up with a wonderful, beautiful wife, beautiful home, kids that love him.
I think his kids are shits, both
His
of them.
kids are little fuckers.
Yeah, he's got a son that they go to some country club thing, and he's on his tablet the whole time just playing his video games.
Yeah.
And the daughter has now become friends with the cool kids. And of course, the cool kids just happen to be the girls that crashed into Johnny's car, and then the bullies that Johnny beat up
Miguel,
that beat up Miguel, and then Johnny beat up.
Yeah. And they come home from the country club, and the daughter's having a huge party
with all of these popular kids.
Yeah.
I hate that fat kid. He's my least favorite bully kid. And then meanwhile, Johnny still just has Miguel as his only student, obviously. A guy comes in and be like, look, if you're going to be a gym, you need to be up to our standards.
Just to get insurance, you have to be up to standards. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you knew that, right? Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Oh, sure, I did. And obviously, he's just having Miguel doing like menial stuff, like you said, the cleaning the toilets and the wiping the windows. And
yeah,
he trains them in the end a little bit. But the person I feel bad for the most was that fat girl who they saw at the country club. The former best friend of the daughter.
Yeah, Daniel's daughter.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, where I haven't seen your
like it's science summer camp and shit.
Yeah, she's doing like robot camp and
yeah.
Did you see the upcoming shots of upcoming episodes?
No.
They did at the end of. Even though I subscribe to YouTube Red, I've never watched a show on YouTube Red.
Give me your password, bud.
The only reason why I have a YouTube Red subscription is because I'm too impatient to sit through ads.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's worth it. I hate those ads on YouTube. They've gotten worse over the years. So to me, it's worth it. So I've been able to watch that. And but at the end of the second episode, they're like, here's some previews of the other episodes. Now you can get your subscription to YouTube Red. Give us money. And it looks like he's got a lot of students at Cobra Kai, and she's one of them.
Oh, good. So he's like the misfits.
It looks like it, yeah.
We do see at the end of the second episode, Daniel shows up. He sees that the dojo is open, and he's intense. So he shows up. He asked the boy, the lead boy that is interested in his daughter, how he got bruised, and he says, "Oh yeah, this old guy beat me up," and he explains what happens. And Daniel,
but of course, he lied.
Together. Yeah, he lied. He said, "Oh, he just beat us up. We were just there buying protein bars." Right?
Yes, that's what it was.
And so Daniel, kind of goes to the Cobra Kai dojo, and he confronts Johnny, and he's like, "I know you're trying to bring this about. You're back to your old tricks." But the best thing happens, because my sister Patty says this too. They talked about how he lost, and Johnny says, "You used an illegal kick." And Sister Patty says that Daniel used an illegal kick. He should have lost. I'm like, that's what Johnny says. So there's a showdown, and it's funny because remember, Daniel was the good guy and Johnny was the bad guy, and kind of roles are reversed now. I mean, not that Daniel's a true bad guy, but he doesn't understand that Johnny's not a bad guy. So they're nemesis. Nemesis?
I'm definitely feeling more on Team Johnny.
Totally. And even when if you ever watched the original Karate Kid movie, there's some points where Johnny does show some humanity. I mean, yeah, he's a teenager and he's a dick, right? But he's like, when his sensei tells him to sweep the leg, he's like, no, that's not right. And he's like, do it. And then after the match, he is choking out Johnny for losing, and he's,
yeah.
You do feel a little empathy for Johnny.
And that was always a running joke on How I Met Your Mother too with Barney, where he'd be like, "Yeah, William Zabka was the hero of that movie." And
I forgot about that. Yes.
And I even think there's an episode where William Zabka pops up, right?
In the wedding.
The wedding. Yes.
Yeah, he wanted him at his wedding.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And I think William Zabka, has to give a lot of credit to How I Met Your Mother. Because that probably renewed a lot of interest. And actually, you know what? It's kind of played back, because I give a lot of credit for Neil Patrick Harris's career being revived by Dr. Will Kirby on Big Brother because he talked about him all the time, and they
all the
even had
time.
him come in on an episode of All Stars. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
after that, he booked Harold and Kumar, and then he got How I Met Your Mother.
And with Drew CBS.
Yeah,
I wonder
so
if Big Brother did play a role in How I Met Your Mother a little bit.
I don't know about that, but I definitely know that that's he kind of got the resurgence.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely found myself more rooting for Johnny and I feel like
Yeah,
they're obviously wanting us to feel that way too because there's
the
stuff
old
like
that anti-hero,
and I
castle.
felt
What's
bad
that?
for him down on his luck and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. And they're going out of their way. Like Daniel with like the bonsai tree stuff was ridiculous. When he has the kid over and he's making the sushi and the kid's like, I don't even like sushi. And it's just like, yeah, when I go to Okinawa and this is what I'm like, shut up.
The next time I went to Okinawa,
And it looks
and
like
the mother, his wife. Oh, he's trying to say like, why isn't she hanging out with her old friends? And the mother's like, oh, she doesn't say it, but she's like, basically, our daughter's young and hot and wants to be with young and hot chicks, not with a fat bitch.
I
That's what
like
she's
the
saying.
mom. I
don't like the mom at all. I think she's a dirtbag.
Maybe she'll get worse as it goes on, but I kind of liked her. But yeah, she was kind of against the fat girl, which was kind of mean. I want more of the fat girl, and it looks like we are going to get more. And I really liked Miguel.
Yeah, and Miguel's two kind of nerdy friends at lunch. The one with the hair lip. Oh, I love him.
Yes, and then the other super nerdy kid. Oh, I like him too.
Yeah, there's some good people on there.
I hope we get more of them too.
I also want to meet Miguel's grandma.
Yes.
I wonder. Oh, too bad she's busy being El Abuela because she'd be a perfect Miguel grandma.
But I feel like she pops up in a lot whenever they need an old Spanish lady. She's one of the old Hispanic.
Other lady. There's that other older, shorter lady. It's chubbier. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Kind of off topic. Not really, because you mentioned Abuela. I just saw the episode where she uses the vibrator in bed, and I'm scarred.
Abuela needs love too. Just before we end, we have to really quickly say, Sister Patty mentioned that there's a Carol Burnett show.
Oh, okay. So there's a new Carol Burnett. Can I talk about it for a couple minutes?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a new Carol Burnett show. I watched the first half of the first episode. It was like Carol Burnett needs a little help or gets a little help, something like that. So the idea is Carol Burnett is in the studio. Russell Peters is like kind of her like cohort. I think that's the guy's name. He's like a comedian. And
I know who Russell Peters is.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then there's like a group of like 5 or 6 kids, and so these kids obviously they're like little actor kids, so they're trained to be they're a little overly precocious and stuff like that. Yeah. And so then the episode that I saw, they brought on a celebrity. In this case, it was Lisa Kudrow. So Lisa Kudrow comes in. Her and Carol Burnett are like, "You're my favorite. You're my favorite. You're my favorite." Whatever. So they sit down, and Lisa Kudrow's like, "Okay, kids, I have a problem. I need to hear how you would solve this problem." So then we get like a poor recreation of like a fake story where Lisa Kudrow agrees to go to lunch, a business lunch with a friend at 1 o'clock, and then gets a phone call from another friend, a personal friend. It's an emergency that she needs to meet up with Lisa Kudrow at 1 o'clock for lunch and describe all her problems and all that stuff. So what will Lisa Kudrow do? What will Lisa Kudrow do? And then all the kids raise their hand and like, I think you should do this or that or this. My favorite was this.
This is that was that show we watched, Child Genius.
Well, to me it's like Love Line meets like Kids Say the Darndest Things.
Yeah, I was gonna say the show with Ricky Gervais with Kids Say the Darndest Things.
Oh, Child Support, yeah.
That's it, Child Support.
Except there's no trivia, no games, no purpose. My favorite was this little nerdy kid in glasses named, I think Richard is his name. And he's like, I think you should just not have friends. You wouldn't be in this situation if you had no friends at all. Lisa Kudrow's like, oh, so no friends? He's like, yeah, no friends. Like, you're the best little kid. You're awesome. And then like someone else says something. He's like, that's what I was trying to say. I was trying to speak. He goes kind of crazy.
Oh my God.
But yeah, then each kid is just talking about how they would solve Lisa Kudrow's problems. And then I guess they just repeat that over and over. I fell asleep after Lisa Kudrow left and somebody else came up and they did another recreation. I thought it was incredibly stupid.
I'm going to watch. It sounds cute.
Maybe I'll give it another shot.
I like Russell Peters. He's from Toronto area.
Okay, yeah, I
So
thought he was Canadian. I
still
feel like
supporting.
at least in the 10 minutes I've seen, he hasn't really done much of anything.
Okay.
But
And
you
I
know what?
love Carol Burnett. I mean, we literally grew up watching Carol Burnett show.
And I was gonna say she's very charming. And I think
Yeah.
she's actually got kind of good rapport with the kids. There at the beginning of the episode, she has like a one-on-one talk with that nerdy glasses kid, and it's adorable. And
Okay.
I mean, I've seen clips growing up of Carol Burnett stuff, but I've never really had a close connection with watching
You
her
watch
stuff.
every
But
night they
she
would do a
seemed,
repeat at 6 or 6:30. We
yeah.
would watch it every night.
But
Love it.
she seemed like she was the best part of the show.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna check it out because I have to support Carol and Russell, but hopefully it's okay.
Maybe we'll mention it next week.
Sometimes these child actors are a little too much.
Yeah,
and
that's how I always got that feeling also with Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that'll be it for today. I'll be back tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. with Ryan and Arthur, and have a good week.
Have a good
Thanks
one.
for
Thank
listening.
you.
Sorry, I'm not prepared to hang up the show. Okay. Have a good week. Bye.